Happy Friday. Happy Friday. You are listening to the She Heals Radio Show on Awesome God Radio. I am your host, Whitney J. It is Friday, December 18th, 2020. Can you believe we are a week away from Christmas? Oh my goodness, time is moving so quickly. If you are tuning in on the Awesome God Radio app, thank you so much. If you have not, downloaded the free Awesome God Radio app, listen, you need to. There is so many things that are coming down down the line for us Awesome God Radio people. I'm telling you, amazing shows, amazing music, amazing sermons, and so much more. Get tapped in. If you are tuning in on YouTube or Periscope or Twitter, thank you so much. Please follow me on all those platforms. Whitney Hogan's. Also follow Awesome God Radio. And last but certainly not least, if you are tuning in on Facebook Live, thank you so much. Hit the like button, leave a comment, and share it to your page. Man, I cannot believe it's a week before Christmas. I am excited for Christmas. I love the holidays. It's certainly going to look a lot different this year, but you know what? We're just going to embrace it, right? I'm just thankful to be amongst the land of the living. I'm thankful to have family, and I am thankful for my Savior. So I'm going to find some good and just enjoy the day. But listen, we have an amazing woman of God coming on the second half of the show, Tiffany Barnes. She is my sister, fellow Awesome God Radio host, and she is an incredible woman. And the chats that her and I have had lately have been a huge blessing, and I know they're going to bless you too. So let's hop into the She Heals Inspiration segment. Listen, y'all, we family, right? Being transparent is super important to me. And I have to be honest, this has been a week. This has been a week. And, one of the things that I am always looking for is improvement. Anyone that knows me personally knows I live for self-improvement. I'm always looking for ways to be better. And I really struggle at times when that honest and pure desire to please God couples with my iniquity of perfection and wanting to be perfect. And so sometimes when those two meet together, it can be really ugly. And I've been struggling with trying to be perfect. I want to be perfect before God. I want to be perfect before everybody else. I want to get it right all the time. And a lot of times when I do make a mistake, I will disregard all the progress that I have made, and I will focus on that one thing or those few things where I missed the mark. And God is just not in that. God looks at the entire process, the entire journey, not just the mistakes or not just the good things. And so this week has been hard. I was listening earlier to Jonathan McReynolds' Cycles. His song Cycles. Listen, if you haven't heard that song, you got to listen to it. It's incredible. And I was kind of feeling that way, like, God, why do I keep having this particular struggle? And why is this one area of my life, it seems like I just can't get it right? As much as I think I got it right, I can't get it right. And I was really, really feeling frustrated and like, God, I should be better than this, and I should be making better choices, and I should have this area right. Hey, good evening, Nelson. Love you, fam. Another Awesome God Radio host. And I was feeling that, and I was just really struggling this week with God. I've made this mistake, and God, I was disobedient to you in this area, and God, you had to redirect me in this area, and God, I'm struggling with accepting the correction, but leaving the guilt. I'm struggling, guys. So I really need your help, God. Like, help me get that together. And God reminded me of something. Hey, Jamila, love you, lady. God reminded me of something, that growth is a process. And it's funny how God will use very simple things to remind you that growth is a process. We tend to think of God as this like super big and everything he says is holier than thou. And he, speaks with $10 vocabulary words. But I love that God will show me the simplest things. He will bring revelation to me in the simplest forms, because that's where I understand. And so he brought me to this past Sunday. So this past Sunday, I was getting my hair done. Shout out to my hairstylist, Erica, Lady Sunflower from Reflection Eternal. And her and I were chatting. And we were chatting about my hair. And she was like, oh my gosh, Whitney, your hair has gotten so long. And so Erica started my locks 4 years ago. And when we started my locks, my hair was really, really short. I had cut all my hair off. Well, I always wore my hair short before then anyway, but I had cut my hair off to like a number 2 with the clippers. And I just let it grow out until it was literally just enough to comb around to do comb twists. And I started my locks 4 years ago, and I've just been letting them grow. And her and I were just chatting about like how much my hair has grown over the last 4 years. And she made this comment, and it was really funny. She was like, girl, I remember when you first came, every time you came to see me, you were like, is my hair growing? Is my hair growing? And, it's locks are a process. It ain't for the weak. Okay. It's not for the weak. It takes a long time. It varies with time with your locks, looking, fully locking to where, you don't have to worry about them coming out. They have what's called the ugly phase, which I don't think it's an ugly phase, but it's a growth process, right? And here's the thing. You have to be comfortable with things not looking perfect to get the locks that you want. In order for the locks to mature, they have to develop. In order for them to develop, you have to let them be. So when I first got them done, she was like, okay, you need to come back in 4 weeks to get your hair done. Don't wash your hair. Don't put some oil on your scalp, tie it up or whatever, but don't touch it. Leave it alone. And I was like, cool with that for like the first 2 weeks. And then after those 2 weeks, and it started looking a little frizzy, and it wasn't looking perfect, because remember, I struggle with perfection. It wasn't looking perfect. So then I was like, oh, I don't know. And so, I kept trying to, get, it perfect. And as I went on each month, I would go see her. And then when I would get there, my hair would be all over my head. And, it was not neat. You couldn't see my parts anymore and all of that. But when she would wash my hair and she would retwist it, I would actually see that under that mess, there was growth. There was growth. I could see that my locks were a little bit longer. I could see the difference month to month. And then there were some months as my hair got longer that I didn't notice that growth right away, right? Because once you get to that middle stage, it doesn't grow quite as fast or may not be quite as noticeable. And I realized that over time, my perception of my hair changed. So over time, I wasn't upset. I slowly became less obsessed with everything being perfect. I didn't need all of my locks to be the perfect length. I didn't need all of my locks to look perfect. Like right now, one is doing its own thing over here. They're different lengths. It was okay as long as my hair was healthy, right? And so I stopped worrying about the perfection. I just enjoyed the journey. Some days my hair looked great. Some days my hair looked a hot mess. I played around with different colors. I tried different styles. Some I liked, some I didn't like. And I just embraced the journey, right? But every time I would go to the salon, my hair would look a mess. And under that mess, there was growth. And God had to show me, yes, Whitney, you may look and see a mess. But what I see under that mess is growth. I see that now you are listening to my voice more than you were before. Now I see that you are, even though you might have still made some mistakes, you may have made some of the same mistakes that you've made in the past. You're recognizing what you're doing wrong now. You're being reflective. Whitney, before you thought the world was against you and every single thing that happened was something that happened to you. You didn't take any accountability for your actions and your mistakes. I see you doing that now, Whitney. I see you saying, God, what did I do wrong? And how can I fix this? I see you, Whitney. I see you trying to take on the perspective of someone else instead of just being in your feelings. And I see you, Whitney, doing things. Don't allow this, this area that's not perfect to make you think that you haven't grown. Because under all of that mess, there is growth. Under all of that imperfection, there is growth. So don't short yourself and think that because you didn't get it right in every single area, every single day, that you have not grown. My daughter, you've grown a lot. So I want to say that to you as well. Many of us are going through things, and sometimes we are feeling like that song. We're feeling like cycles, like, Dad, Shouldn't I be over this? Shouldn't I not be struggling with losing these 10 pounds? Talking to myself. Why am I still struggling with food? Why am I still struggling with eating out versus eating healthy and drinking enough water and exercising consistent? Why am I still struggling with those things? Like, I'm 34 years old and I've had people in my life die young from health issues. So why don't I have that together yet? I know better. I need to do better. Although that is true, right? You have to acknowledge the growth. Are you eating better than you did? Are you working out more than you did? Okay, so what is one next step you can take? You're not going to get it all right on the first try. What's the next good choice you can take? I used to say to my students all the time when we were in school, every good choice counts. So I didn't get it right. Okay, I've been eating a hot mess for the last like 5 months, 4 or 5 months. Just been eating everything. Drinking, tea every day, not drinking enough water, not working out. I've been a mess. Okay. And guess what? My body is a direct reflection of my choices, right? So the fact that my weight is up and down and I'm not really looking the way I want to look is a direct reflection of the choices I've made. The fact that my skin is broken out and I can see those pimples coming in because I've been eating a lot of chocolate, it's a direct reflection of my behavior. But guess what? I have the power to change my behavior because I serve a God that can remove any thorn from me, a God that can walk me through any process. So guess what? I'm just going to have to do the work. I'm going to take the correction, leave the guilt and shame, and do the work. And I don't care if in 2 months I have to come back and start again. That is okay as long as I stay on the journey. Listen, my hair would not have grown if I combed out my locks every time they didn't look perfect. If one lock started acting crazy and I combed it out or I cut it off, my hair would have never seen any progress. You've just got to keep moving forward. Now, that's not to be said that when God tells you to correct something, you need to be obedient. So there have been times where God is like, you need to fix that. And I've had to own it. Okay, God, I'm sorry for displeasing you. I'm sorry for getting out of your will. I'm sorry for whatever the thing I did was. Help me now to be redirected, God. Help me, Lord, to fix it, or help me, Lord, to start over. You've got to follow God because your obedience and your disobedience come at a cross. Deuteronomy 27 and 28, those 2 chapters, read them. It talks about the reward for obedience and the consequence for disobedience. And sometimes you've got to follow God's will even when you don't understand. Even when it doesn't feel good to you, it doesn't make you feel good as a person. In the last several months, actually the whole year, I found myself in some different situations where I had to do some uncomfortable things. I had to have some uncomfortable conversations. I had to make some uncomfortable choices, and I didn't always feel good about it. But I trusted that God's hand was in it because he spoke it to me. He's not going to tell me to do something that's not in my best interest, and I trust him. No different than I trust my hairstylist. When she would say, put this in your hair, I did it. When she would say, do this or don't do that, I did it. Why? Because I trusted her expertise. I trusted her results. I looked at her hair. Her hair was healthy. So I felt like she was someone I could trust and I could listen to. Why not listen to the all-knowing, all-powerful God who is right there with you saying, this is what I need you to do. This is the next step I need you to take. And guess what? You so want more of me. You feel like there's more that God that I have for you, daughter, or that I have for you, son. It's on the other side of your obedience. So the fact that you feel like there is more there and you're trying to figure out how to get to more, it's that you need to revisit what's the last thing I told you to do and make sure you did it. You need to take inventory of your life and make sure things are in order. Listen, God is not looking for our perfection. He is looking for our submission. But a part of our submission is responsibility to honor his word. We have to look at ourselves and we got to make changes. We can't keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. That is the definition of insanity. So many of us are in this circle. Why do I keep dealing with this? Why do these business deals keep going the way that they're going? Why are these friendships, I meet cool women or cool men, and then all of a sudden the friendship goes sour? Why is, every time I start a new job, a couple months in, there's a problem. We need to look. The common factor is you. The common factor is me. If I'm dealing with the same issue, different places and different circumstances, the common factor of that is me, which means I have to go to God and say, God, what is it? You know, I was sharing with my best friend earlier today. I said, listen, there are certain things that I've been going through, and I'm no victim here. I've got to ask God some really tough questions. I need you to pray for me as I seek God in this area and say, God, what am I doing wrong in this specific area of my life? Lord, where am I getting it wrong? Where is my attitude off? Where is my behavior off? God, because clearly it's not everybody else. There is my part of that too. If something is not growing and developing and change, then that means I need to look at myself. Because everything doesn't happen to you. Some of us think that people wake up in the morning and they sit and they have an executive team meeting about how they're going to hurt you for the day. And more times than not, that's not true. But we've got to also see our part. So this has been the year for me that God has shown me. He's looked at me and he's like, yeah, Whitney, you got a lot of great qualities. But we got to talk about these things over here. We got to talk about your attitude sometimes. We got to talk about your delivery sometimes. We got to talk about that mouth sometimes. We got to talk about your spending habits. We got to talk about this unhealthy relationship with food that you had. We have to talk about your ambition that sometimes causes you to step outside my will. We got to talk about a few things, Whitney. We got to clear some things up. We got to get some things in order because listen, you got all these great things over here, but until you deal with these things, I can't move you to the next level because you will ruin it. Your behavior will ruin the promises because you're trying to stay in one place and move to another place with no change. So guess what? I'm going to have to put the fire to you for a little bit. I'm going to have to show you some things. And it's not because I'm condemning you, because the word clearly says there is now no condemnation for those that are in Christ Jesus. It's not saying that. I'm not saying that. But you keep saying you want more, but you haven't taken care of what I've given you now. Well, how do you expect to have more money if you're not a good steward of the money I've given you right now? How are you expecting to have more relationships or deeper relationships if you're not a good steward of the ones that I've given you right now? How are you going to expect healing and freedom and forgiveness if you're withholding forgiveness from somebody else that's hurt you? So guess what? Listen, I want to help you, but we got to address this stuff over here. We can't do it one way. I'm not just going to keep blessing you. I've got to correct you too, so that you can be ready. You can't expect growth without mess. Show me any type of growth that hasn't come without a process, a messy process. Okay, growing a baby is messy, right? Starting a business is messy. Going to school is messy. There is always mess with the growth. So sometimes we think like, all right, I just wanted to work. I just wanted my locks to be like that. Okay. I wanted to go to her chair one day and have locks down my back the next. And I had to realize, oh no, boo, you're going to have to go through this process. And you have to keep the vision in mind of what you want when your hair is itching and you ready to wash it, but you can't right now. Or when your hair is looking a little crazy because your hair is getting frizzy, your hair is locks go through a budding process where some of the locks are fat and lumpy and they don't look uniform. And sometimes they look crazy. I can show you pictures from when I was starting my locks and I felt that they look crazy, but guess what? You can't get length and mature locks without the budding phase. Right? So stop trying to get more of God without giving more to him. Stop trying to get more of God by staying the same. You can't take old behavior into new seasons and expect growth and change. You've got to make some changes. So I'm in this space right now. Let me tell you, this has been rough. This has been real rough. But I'm in this space right now that's saying, God, I want more of you. God, I want to be the Whitney you've called me to be. So guess what? I'm uncomfortable right now. And I don't like that all of my flaws, I feel like are being exposed to me. And I can see all the mistakes I've made. And it's so frustrating. I can see situations that I got myself into. And then I'm trying to ask you to help me get out of it. I'm seeing the bad choices I made, God. And I'm frustrated. But Lord, you said your grace is sufficient for me and your power is made perfect in my weakness. I got to go through the process. It's going to be uncomfortable. Oh, well. So, God, if that is your will, if your will is for me to grow and this is what I got to go through to get to where you need me to be, then Lord, it is well with me. I'm going to give that thing to you guys. So yes, that means I've got to take a hard look at myself. And yes, right now I'm seeing my imperfections on a huge display. I am seeing the things that I need to change. I am seeing the areas that I haven't forgiven others that I need to forgive. I'm seeing the areas where I need to forgive myself. I'm seeing where I need to be the one repenting and saying, I'm sorry. I see that now, God, and it's uncomfortable and I don't like it, but I want the growth. And there is no growth without some mess. So guess what? As I'm dealing with those things, as I'm trusting the process, as I'm going through the process, not trying to skip steps, not trying to get something before you're ready for, as I'm doing that, God, I just need you to be with me. I need you to comfort me. I need you to pour into me. I need you to help me, God, because I don't understand all the time. And sometimes it's difficult. So God, I just need you to be in the midst. You know, the worst thing that you can do is have access to the blessings of God before you are ready for them. There's a process. And there are times, you know, Ecclesiastes 3 says there's time for everything. So if, you know, everybody knows that when you're baking, I'm not a real big baker. I can bake a little bit. I'm trying though. That's going to be my winter break project. I want to bake. But, you know, there is a process to certain things, right? You can't put the icing on the cake when the cake is fresh out the oven because it's too hot. It will melt the icing, right? You have to wait until certain things rise to there's a whole process involved. And the whole point is if you start interfering with it too soon, you will ruin the finished product. Many of us, like I know me, when it comes to cooking and stuff, I just want to get to the food. I just want to eat, right? But you've got to go through the process. You have to slow down. You've got to make sure that you follow the steps accurately. You've waited the right amount of time. You've prepared. The worst thing you can do is start cooking something and you in the middle of putting stuff together and then you realize you're missing an ingredient, right? Because you weren't prepared. You didn't sit everything out ahead of time. You didn't make sure you were clear on the directions, right? That you need to preheat the oven at 350, not at 450. Listen, you got to take your time. The only people that are in a rush is us. God is not in a rush. I'm trying to get to the next level. I'm trying to get to, you know, I want my business to soar. I want my kids to soar. I want my ministry to soar. I want those, and you know, prayer requests to just be, you know, I have dreams and hopes and things. I just want stuff to get going. And God is like, you got to wait, my love. It's not ready to come out the oven yet. And if you take it out before it's ready because you're impatient and you want it so badly, you're going to mess it up. And God has, you know, Breezy, shout out to my sister, Breezy. I love you so much. Last week on the show, she made this statement. She said, God's permissive will and God's perfect will are not the same. So sometimes God will just give, okay, that's what you want to do. Okay, cool. And then we'll see the mess of the cake that we made, right? Because we moved too quickly. And then we're looking at God like, God, fix it. And God's like, sometimes he might. Sometimes he might come in and help us. Other times, that's an L we might have to take because we were disobedient. So you gotta go with him, not ahead of him, not behind him, but with him. You've got to move with God. You've got to trust God. You got to cry out to God. You got to take the correction. Now, listen, this ain't for the weak. You got to be willing to say, okay, God, you're right. I did do that wrong. You're right. Forgive me, God. But you got to trust the process because what he is developing and what he is nurturing and pouring into right now is worth the wait. I don't want no lumpy, flat cake. I don't want food that's not cooked all the way. I don't want, you know, if you're trying, it's just like I was teaching my son, Quincy, when I first started teaching him how to cook. I was like, listen, you got to cook the chicken with like medium heat. Because if you cook it too hot, on the outside, it's going to cook real fast and you're going to think it's done. And on the inside, it's not going to be done and you're going to be sick. So we got to be careful. We got to slow this thing down, right? You got to slow down. You got to trust God. You got to go through the process and be okay with every day not being perfect. Be okay if it doesn't work out the way you wanted it to work out. Be okay if, you know what, maybe I got that wrong. Maybe I thought this was your will, God, but you know what, God, it seems like you're redirecting me into another area. You got to go as he leads because he knows what's best. He knows what's ahead of us. He knows the journey. And you don't want to keep going back. We don't want to be in the same situation. You know, this is the time of year, especially, right? We're closing out. We are 2 weeks away. 2 weeks from today is January 1st, 2021, right? And I know many people are like, I am so done with 2020. Oh, I can't wait. And we think that when the clock strikes midnight on New Year's Eve, that all of a sudden everything is going to change because we're in a new year. How many people have done this year after year after year after year? You know, those New Year's resolutions that you start strong with in January, and by March, you've given up on every year. This is going to be my year. I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But you don't do it. Nothing's going to change unless we change. And we have to change not so that we can get something from God. We have to change because we want to be more pleasing to God. It's not about us getting something. God is not a transactional God. It's not a, well, if you do this, then I'll give you this. You really want that business or that job or that person or whatever. Okay, cool. You do this and then I'm going to give that to you. That's not how it works. You submit your life to him. You surrender to him and you say a complete yes to his will. And what he brings after that is his will. It may not look like you want it to look, but it will be his perfect will. You know, when I look at my life, many things, the majority of things that have happened in my life have not been what I wanted, you know, but they were what was best. And I have seen God's hand in every single step. So you've got to move with God. You got to move with God. You got to take that correction. You got to say, wait a minute, God, what's my responsibility in this thing? What did I do wrong? Is there something that I did wrong? Because not in every situation there may not be. But you got to search God and say, God, search my heart. Where are the areas of my life that I need to get right with you? Where do I need to grow? And Lord, help me to see the progress that I've already made, because sometimes that guilt and that shame and that condemnation can get in and consume us. And we don't even see that we've grown. We don't even see that, you know, we are making some progress because we're so boggled down with the shame. Let go of the shame and the guilt and the condemnation. God is not in any of that. He is not looking to hurt us or condemn us, but the correction is necessary. The redirection is necessary. The shift is necessary. We want so much more of God. Are we willing to give just as much to God? We got to make some changes. And that's when we'll see the results. So there are things that I'm believing God for. There are things in my family. There are things that I'm believing God for the people that I love, my friends. There are things that I'm believing God for myself. But I have to be willing to do the work. Even when the work makes me uncomfortable, even when the work is things I may not want to do or I may not like, right? Even when I've got to be the bigger person sometimes, or even when it doesn't feel good in the moment, right? How many times has God required us to do something that hasn't felt good in the moment, only for later down the line you to see, okay, I see where you were going with that, God. Okay, I see why I had to do that. Or I see why, you know, you closed that door and you opened this door instead. I see why now, God. Okay, it makes sense. Okay. Sometimes we just got to wait and trust that God has it and it will make sense later. And some things won't make sense at all. That's where our trust in God comes in. God, I don't even understand what you're doing, but okay, I trust you. I'm with you. I love you. You got to give that to him. You got to give that thing to him. You've got to trust him. You've got to cover yourself. You got to surround yourself with the people that are going to encourage you and hold you up and check your behind when needed. Shout out to my family and friends that check me when I need it. But your healing is on the other side of your obedience. That next level, that next thing, whatever it is that you're believing God for, is on the other side of your obedience. Let's trust the process. Let's know that underneath what looks like a mess, there is growth, and let's allow God to move. Listen, I pray that you were blessed by the She Heals Inspiration segment. I am so excited. The guest that is coming on is my sister, y'all. You know, it is something about when you meet people. You know, I meet people all the time and I love to talk to people, but sometimes I will meet someone and I'm like, oh, we're meant to be connected. And when I met this woman, I knew God was doing something. And she is an incredible woman of God. She's an incredible mother. She's just an inspiration to all that know her. And you know what? I'm going to let you see for yourself because she's going to inspire you. So we want to welcome to the She Heals Radio Show my sister, my AGR sister, Miss Tiffany Barnes. Hey, Tiff.
Hey, Whit.
How are
My
you?
goodness. I'm good. That introduction, I'm telling you, I just don't feel worthy of it. Oh, my goodness.
Well, is that what the Lord said? Well, first of all, we were about to be twins because I was about to wear leopard print today, too.
Yes, I'm so honored to be with you tonight. I'm so excited for what God is doing in both of our lives in this season.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So Tiff, just thank you so much for tuning to just being with me tonight. And you and I had a conversation a couple days ago, and the way God just moved, like we just started talking, and it was just like, ooh. We were finishing each other's sentences, but the theme was the same. That I feel like many of us are in some type of transition, and we, you know, this year was not for the faint at heart at all.
Not at all.
This year has been really difficult, and so I know for you, you've had your own share of experiences this year that you've been so transparent about. But just talk to me a little. First, introduce yourself, and then talk to us a little bit just about just what God has been sharing.
Absolutely. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Tiffany Barnes. I am a sister of Whitney's in the Lord, and we both are networking through Awesome God Radio. So shout out to my team, and that's how I met Whitney. I met Whitney through Awesome God Radio, and just to share a little bit about my testimony in this season, I lost my dad in May. My dad did transition. It's been a trying year. But as I told Whitney earlier today, the Lord has been faithful. I give God praise for the 60 years that he gave my dad. And even during this time of still going through a grieving process, I decided that it was time for me to heal. It may sound strange, everyone, but God actually used the passing of my dad to push me into a healing process. The pushing wasn't a forceful push, but it was a push. It was a push of looking in the mirror and saying, you know what? It's time. There are some layers and some things that you've been holding on to, and we're going to get rid of this, not get rid of, but we're going to work on this inner healing versus the out, right? Because a lot of times we can look good on the outside, but on the inside, we're all jacked up, right? But guess what? God still works with us, right? He doesn't push us to the side, you know. So this is where I am, and that's kind of a part of my story. So I'm just looking forward to the process of where God is leading me and taking me in this season of my life.
Amen. Amen. And the one thing that I love about you, Tiff, is you are always willing to share the process. I feel like, you know, a lot of times, especially in these social media streets, you know, we can present ourselves however we want, right? You know, I can go in here and act like I got it all together every week, but I don't. And, you know, I feel like for you, what I've always admired is your willingness to say, listen, this is where I am in the process. I feel like this time of the year, especially as we're going into the holidays, we're closing out the year. And I mean, just it's cold, it's dark, you know, it can be a really trying time for a lot of people. It really can be. And I just wanted to ask you, what are some things that you do to keep yourself encouraged during this time? I'm sure, I mean, I know I lost a relative last month and one earlier this year, you know, so now we're going through the first holidays, you know, without them. I had, I lost a relative on Christmas Day last year. So that anniversary is coming up, and you will be, going through the holidays as well without your dad. What are some things that you are doing now to kind of encourage yourself and to get through that?
Right now, I have decided to really focus on my mental health. Sometimes I'm just in my room. I'll cut the TV off, cut the phone off, and just kind of taking that quiet time, or also doing some self-care, which has, been helpful to me as well. And, reading, that has been a great outlet for me during this season, and just trying to keep my mind decluttered from things. I remember not too long ago, a few weeks ago, I had went through the cabinets, right? And I couldn't believe that I had food from 2016, 17 in my cabinet.
Yeah.
And, God spoke to me and he was like, this is what I'm talking about. It's time to get rid of this stuff that's not usable, this stuff that's not working. You're not going to be able to, though you don't want to throw it out, it's expired. That you have to move on from that. And when
That's
you
a
were
word.
talking about the budding stages of locking your hair, and how you don't want to skip that process, you
Right.
want to stay focused in that area. So I got rid of that food, but I was like, that's it. I was like, I can't carry this old stuff into the new.
That's right. That's right. That's right. We
Yeah,
can't. And it's hard to let go, right?
it is.
It's hard to
It
let
is.
go of things, those comfort things. Now I'm a I'm a purger. I'm a purger. Like, I will come when my kids see those black trash bags starting to roll through the house about once a month. It's like, oh my gosh, my is get ready to throw some stuff away. Now I will go through and throw things away, or I will repurpose things. If I don't need this coat, I'm not wearing this coat, somebody else can use it.
Right.
But every once in a while for me, I might hit that one thing that I'm like, oh, that pair of pants that I couldn't fit, and I definitely ain't gonna be that size again in this lifetime. But I really like them. It's hard sometimes, right, to let those things go. But how can we make room for the things that God has if there is space that's being occupied?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How can we do it?
Yeah.
How can we do it? And so, talk to me about your process of getting rid of things, decluttering, per se.
Yes. It starts in the mind first, I believe. Which has really helped me to take a look in the mirror and also, see myself differently. I've been through a journey in life. It hasn't been an easy road, but like I said, I'm definitely determined to make those changes, in my life. And another thing that I've been working on also is forgiveness. I feel like you can't properly heal unless you forgive. Because that allows you to take off that excess weight with things. And, a lot of times we're holding grudges against people, and, things are kind of not looking the way that we want them to be. But I want to, as Rashad said earlier today on his show, you want to travel a little bit lighter. So that's what I want to do in this season of my life. I don't want the heaviness. I want to travel a little bit lighter. Just in my life in general, so I had to make some changes, and some of these changes were they were painful, but I had to go with that process that is going to help me to get better as a person. And like I said, I'm just looking forward to what God has in store, so I know that things are shifting. And in 2019, the Lord told me that 2020 was going to be the year to cross over. And I did not understand it at the time, but during that crossing over time to get to the other side, there were some storms that came, some situations in life, some unexpected things, but I'm still determined to cross over as, the Lord spoke to me. And that's where I am.
Amen. You touched on something that is so heavy, forgiveness. Forgiveness is hard.
Yeah.
It's hard, right? And I know we say all the time, oh, you should forgive because forgiveness is really for you more than
Hmm.
it is for the other person. But there's a process to forgive. And I
Yes.
think that sometimes when we think of forgiveness, we think of that movie scene, right? Where that
Hmm.
person comes to you and they say they're sorry for whatever, happened, and then forgive them and y'all embrace,
Right.
and it's like, all right, now we can roll the credits, the movie's over. But that's not real life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes forgiveness, you're forgiving someone that wasn't sorry. You're
Mm.
forgiving someone that may never have apologized or even fully understood or cared what
Yes.
they did and how their behavior, impacted you. How
Mm.
is it? How do you work through when the forgiveness is difficult?
Mm. Well, as I would say, the forgiveness is not for them. It's really for you. It's
That's
really
right.
for the individual, So what a person does with that, to me, is it's up to them. You know what I mean? But as long as you know you played your part in that situation, and you went to that individual with a clear mind and taking a stance on, hey, this is where we are. This is what I'm going to do for not only for myself, but also hoping that you would accept something to that degree. You know what I mean? And it's really for you. Hopefully that person can receive it and accept it. But like you said, it's not an easy thing. What happens when it's not accepted? What happens when it doesn't go the way that you expect it to go? I think at that point, that's where you really have to just trust God in the process, knowing that you did the part that you had to play in that situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I think that sometimes we have to remember that things don't always settle the way that we want them to be
Mhm.
settled.
Absolutely.
And we have to trust that, sometimes we have a perception of our minds of how it's going to go. And
Hmm.
we have to trust that sometimes God doesn't give that, but that doesn't mean his plan is not perfect. Um,
Absolutely.
One of the things that you mentioned, and I know you and I have talked in our private time, is just that emphasis on mental health
Mm.
and really making sure that you are
Yeah.
taking care of yourself. What is the importance of that? 'Cause I feel like, sometimes it can become, we tend to take authentic things as a society and make them cliche.
Hmm. Hmm.
And mental health is an authentic need,
Yeah.
but I think that sometimes we kind of make it commercialized. But what does it mean to you? And what are some of the things that you are doing? Because I feel like there are many right now that are struggling. This year has probably taken a toll on them,
Oh yeah.
and just the uncertainty of life. We don't know when COVID's going to be gone. We don't know what's going to happen when, and that's very uncomfortable for many people. And so
Yeah.
many are struggling even more than what they may have normally dealt with. What are some things that you do to address your own mental health, and what are some things that we can learn and glean from that?
Mhm. Well, like I said, what I decided to do this year, which I took a really huge step, maybe 2 months ago, I decided to go to therapy. And in that therapy session, it is really a transparent peeling.
Yeah.
Um, when you are peeling back those layers, and we going back to childhood,
Oh,
and
yes.
sometimes that's a place that we really don't want to go,
That's right.
but it's necessary for the process. And I'm learning that for myself. And learning those things about myself has really put me in a place of vulnerability.
Yeah.
And one thing God is showing me is this: if it's anybody that you want to be vulnerable to, it is me, because I can
Right.
take all of that vulnerability and I can use it, for your good. So mental health is very important. Listen, I am not one to push people into anything, but if you feel like you are looking to heal and go through some processes and just working on yourself, um get a therapist,
Amen.
get a counselor. I think sometimes in the African American community, it's shunned upon, and we have a lot of people suffering in silence. And that therapy session is really to help you to soar, into something different, and to find out really who you are, and
That's
what
right.
you've been dealing with, and those hurts and even trauma. We all had some type of trauma that we've possibly encountered in life. So, hey, I do not look down upon it. I am all for mental health. I'm actually going to be going through a schooling in January to
Yeah.
become a mental health advocate and a coach.
Yes.
So listen, I didn't even see that one
Amazing.
coming. I'm telling you, shout out to Colleen, Diana, Colleen of the Green Heart community. Colleen blessed
Yes.
me in this month, and it blew my mind. When she called me, I was like, when she texted me, I was like, huh, what? You want to
Yeah.
do what to me? And it's just letting me know and lining me up for what God has for me. And it's
That's
such
right.
a great plan. So all for mental health. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And the key with the therapist is what that people realize or don't realize is you will get out of it what you put in it. No
Mm-hmm.
different than your
Yes.
relationship with God, right? You're going to get out what you put
Mhm.
in. And there are so many things that we as people are dealing with, and we
Yes.
don't even realize we're in bondage because it's
Mm.
all we know. I was
Wow.
sharing some things with my therapist, and she said, "Where did you learn that?"
Mm.
And like, I was like, what do you mean? And she,
Right.
she made me start thinking about, so everybody doesn't think like this.
Mm.
No, it's a learned behavior. Certain
Yeah.
things and behaviors and mindsets are learned. And so
Yeah.
she's been helping me pull those, like, oh, okay. So everyone doesn't think like that. And
Yeah.
it's possible to think differently.
Oh yeah.
It's
Yeah.
possible to wake up and not be depressed.
Mm.
It's possible to get up in the morning and not need 30 minutes to get the courage to get
Mm.
out of bed. That is
Yeah.
actually something that's possible when I trust God and submit to his plan and do the work and get the
Mm.
help. So it's amazing that we don't even realize sometimes we're in bondage
Wow.
just
Mm.
because of, and it could be generational mindsets. Well, this is how we talk to
Okay.
each other in my family. This is what we
Yeah.
do.
Mm.
Right.
Wow.
And it's all we know. And so it
Yeah.
is so important to seek healing for yourself. You deserve to be free. You deserve
Yeah.
to feel good about yourself. You deserve to enjoy life. So if
Yeah.
you are, struggling in those areas, listen, getting a therapist does not mean you don't have faith. It doesn't mean that you are weak. It means that you are strong and that
Yeah.
you are willing and ready for better.
Absolutely.
Embrace that.
Yeah.
So, Tiff, as you've been on your journeys, I know we talked about, just the impact that your dad, had on your life and losing your dad this year. What are
Mm.
some of the things that his loss and even his life has taught you, and how has it helped you grow?
Oh my goodness. Whew. It has taught me to appreciate life.
Yeah.
Um, I was talking about the unexpected, and how things unexpectedly take place. And my dad was actually, he was a singer. I don't know if I told you that, but he
You
he
did.
had a singing group here. He grew up with some guys in the Cherry Hill community, and his legacy of music will always live on. So
Mhm.
I'm thankful for that purpose that God had in his life to allow him to even just experience that as a child, and to even in his adulthood, so he has left a legacy. And what I do want is for his legacy to live on through me and through his family.
Amen.
So, I mean, I'm just grateful for even that. So, like I said, it has taught me to appreciate life. Don't take things for granted. Enjoy your family. Listen, every family goes through situations and circumstances, right? And we're
Yes.
still working on some things. Nobody's perfect, right? But I'm taking those things that I've learned over these last 7 months and I'm going to apply them to my life, because even in this, there's a lesson to be learned. So it's all
Amen.
about perspective, it's all about perspective. So that's where I am.
Amen. You brought up a powerful word, legacy.
Mm,
Legacy. The
yes.
life that we live, the things that we do is not just for us.
Mm,
What are we leaving behind to those
wow.
that we love? What
Yeah.
legacy are we leaving behind?
Mm,
That is such a powerful thing, because a lot of times we think just about the moment and
mhm.
this is how I'm living right now and this is where I want to be in 3 years. We don't think about what legacy am I leaving for my family.
Absolutely.
And that comes from being directly connected with God.
Mm,
When we are living right for God, our legacy in him, what he has given us to do, our work that we do through him will see
yeah.
generations.
Yes, it will.
Many of us are dealing with things and we're healing because we're healing things for our family.
Mm,
It's not just us. We're not
Yes.
just healing for us. We're healing for our families as well. And
Yes.
so, as you honor your dad, one, I love how you honor him. It is
Yeah.
a huge testimony because everyone has different relationships with their loved ones. But
Absolutely.
the Word of God tells us to honor our mother and our father,
Mm.
and I
Yeah.
love how you honor him.
Yeah.
But even as you're honoring his legacy, you're building one of your own.
Absolutely. Yes.
So, yes, what are some of the things that we can be doing right now as we are going through our healing journey? This is for just empowering and encouraging people. What are some of the things that we can do now so that we can have our legacy be pleasing to God and healing for our family?
Mm. I would say, listen, obedience is the key. Um, Whatever it is that God is telling you to do, listen, there are going to be some moments where, you may not be too sure about that thing. I've had things come up and people speak over my life, and I'm like, I don't know if that is possible, right?
Right.
But some way, somehow, right? God confirms his word. So I would just say continue to do what he's ordering your steps to do. It's all for a purpose, and you'll see it eventually, what it was all worth and what it was all for. Again, like you said, you want to leave that legacy for your family. That legacy is who you are as an individual. And listen, I always say, listen, we're here on borrowed time.
Mm,
We don't know. We have family members that were here this time last year that are not here this time this year.
right.
And if that is not a wake up call for us, if that is not something to push us into purpose, to find out exactly what it is that God is calling us to do, I don't know what else is. So I will say this: 2020 was a trying year, but it has not been the worst year.
Amen.
So let us continue to push forward, right? We know that we've lost some loved ones and some things have taken place, right?
Yeah,
But we're not going to give that pandemic, we're not going to exalt it above Christ, right?
that's
Because we
right.
know,
That's right.
we know God is still on the throne,
That's right.
so let us just continue to push forward as people. And, like I said, let God order your steps. You can't go wrong with that.
You certainly can. You certainly
You
can.
can't go wrong with it.
And what you just said was so powerful. Like, we're not gonna put this pandemic over our God,
Mm,
because there is nothing that happens in this world that God did not know about.
absolutely.
He is in complete control. And I think
Mm,
that we have to make sure we remember that, God is still under his feet.
yes, it
It's
is.
still under his feet.
Yes,
Whatever
it is.
we're going through is still under his feet. I know sometimes
Mhm.
to us it's like, I don't see how I'm going to get out of this, or I don't see how I'm ever going to get over this or through this, but it is under his feet, whatever it is. I remember sharing with someone about my youngest son when he was diagnosed with autism. And I said,
Mm,
listen, it's under his feet.
yes.
It will, and
Yeah.
there will come a day where even autism will have to take a back seat to what
Mm,
God is
mm,
doing
mm.
in him. And so we've got to make sure that we remember, that we don't forget, even in our heaviness in this season, even in
Yes.
all the trials that we have endured in this season,
Mm,
to whom we belong. And all of this
absolutely.
is under his feet. Like I said, Tiff, I think that this is a heavy season for a lot of people. I know you and I talked, this is a heavy season for me. In the
Yeah.
spirit of being
Yeah.
transparent,
Yeah.
it's been really, really rough. I just, feel that there is somebody that might be listening that needs some
Mm,
encouragement. So I
yes.
just want you to share as the Lord gives you. Just if
Mm,
someone could be listening, and we don't know, right? We don't know what their
absolutely.
their personal journey is, but they need
Yeah.
something. They
Yeah.
need to hear something. Just share what the Lord has placed on your heart.
Mm. Yeah. So if there's someone out there that's needing to be encouraged, let me tell you, just hold fast to God in this season. Don't give up. Don't give up. I know that things have been rough. I'm a witness to that. Um, and whatever you do, even in this process, don't lose your faith.
That's right.
Um, don't lose your faith. I know things are going to come up, situations and circumstances will arise, but don't lose your faith. Hold on to God's unchanging hand. The Lord is in control, and I want to say this too. Stay connected to people.
Oh, yes. Don't
Stay
isolate.
connected to people, because there was a time over these last few months where I was kind of like isolating myself,
Mm-hmm.
but it was the encouragement of other people, being consistent, calling and checking up on me and my family, just really concerned, just seeing how we were doing. Stay connected. There's power in being connected. There's strength in being connected. Sometimes we go through those seasons where we don't want to pick up the phone. We don't want to be bothered. Listen, I get it. But if you can stay connected, that's where you're going to find your strength, just to push through. So we know that this is a season where depression can become really heavy, but I want you all to be encouraged. Be encouraged. You are not alone in this process. I know
Yes.
you might feel
Yes.
alone, because
Yes.
I felt very alone, but
Yes.
you are not alone. Stay connected. Just continue to trust God through your process. And God will put people in your path. I'm a witness. He'll
Yes.
put people in your path. He'll connect you with people.
Yes,
And
he
even in
will.
that, you need to discern, what these people are here for. But I guarantee you, they're there for a purpose. So just be encouraged. God has us. I'm telling you, this is not the end. It is not over.
It is not over by far. And
It is
listen,
not
just
over.
as God has allows the storms, please know that those
Mm,
rainbows, right? Those rainbows are formed in the storm. We don't
yes,
see them until after the storm is over, but they're formed in the storm.
yes,
So
they
just as
are.
you are in it right now, know that God is working something beautiful. It is not
Mm,
it's not just the storm. I know sometimes we focus on just what's going wrong, right? Because that's what
right,
we see. We're
right.
consumed by it, but there is that beautiful rainbow that's being formed in the storm. So hold on. Listen, on a serious note, I know that this time of the year can be especially difficult. If you are struggling with depression or
Mhm.
anxiety or even suicidal thoughts, listen, there is no judgment. I have
Mm,
been there. I've
yes.
been hospitalized for suicide
Oh
attempts.
my gosh.
I know the pain of
Yeah.
there's nothing to consume me. There's nothing to take it away. I want to take
Mhm.
my life. I know what that feels like. If
Yeah.
you are feeling that way, there is help available. I will
Mm,
drop in the comments 800 numbers that you can call. You can inbox me if
yes.
you want to be connected to some help. Listen, reach out.
Mm,
Reach out. Your life has value. Your
yes, it does.
life has meaning. And, I know that sounds really, cliche, but there are people that don't know that and don't feel that.
Hmm.
And we want to be super
We don't.
sensitive to that.
Yes,
So if you
yes.
are feeling that way, reach out. We may not have the answers, but we are willing to connect you to
Absolutely.
support
Reach
what
out.
you need.
Yeah, you can inbox me, get in contact with Whitney. And, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be transparent on the show. I've even had those moments over these
Yes,
last 2 months. You know what I mean?
yes.
But God,
But God,
but
Tiff,
God,
but God, it's real.
but
It's
God.
real. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. And it's
Mm,
nothing to, you don't know the magnitude of somebody's hurt.
yeah.
You don't know what someone is going through. People think they look at me and they think they know my story and they don't know half
Half of
of
it.
what I have been through and what those nights look like for me and what those early mornings look like for me. But
Hmm.
but God is a waymaker. He is a
Yeah.
comforter. But here's the thing, you got to give it to him and you got to do some work. And so
Yeah.
listen, we don't want anybody to feel that way in this season. If there's anything we
Mm.
can do, I just feel a heavy sense of heaviness. I don't know if it's just for
Um,
me or if it's
yeah.
for somebody else, but if you are feeling that low, that pit, let me
Hmm.
tell you, God is right there with you.
Yes, yes.
He's
And
right
look,
there with you.
since you're speaking of the pit, that was one of the first t-shirts that the Lord had allowed me to bring
Yes,
forth.
let's talk
And
about
that
that.
was
Thank you.
yes, and that was around this time last year. And pit stands for place intended transition, from Psalm 40, verse 2. So if anyone needs to be encouraged, go to that scripture, Psalms chapter 40, verses 2. He pulled me out of a horrible pit. He placed my feet on the miry clay. So listen,
Yes.
that shirt means so much. I tell people, listen, you need to get this shirt. If God has he snatched me out of a horrible pit. If he has snatched you out of a pit, pulled you from that place and transitioned your life, you need to get that shirt.
Well,
Yes.
first of all, how can we get the shirts? Let's talk about
Yes,
that.
yes. You can get the shirt if people are connected. They can inbox me. Here in Baltimore, I do deliver the shirts. Kingdom Connections is the brand,
I'm
the
putting it in the
ministry.
chat now. Kingdom
Kingdom Connections. Yes, and the K connections with a K with.
Got it.
Yes.
So we will put your information in the chat too, so that people can get connected with you.
Wonderful.
And they can reach out to get your shirts. Listen,
Yes.
you, Tiffany, you're doing an incredible work, and God is just getting started. I just thank you so much for being on the show with me tonight, that we could just have a candid conversation about what God is doing and saying. To every listener, I just want to thank you so much for tuning in. To my producer Q, thanks for taking care of me week after week. To my Awesome God Radio family, I love you. It is an honor to be connected with you. But to those that are struggling, please reach out for help. We mean that. We're not just gassing y'all out. We're not just saying that because it sounds like, listen, I know what it feels like to be in that pit, but there is a God that will come and get you. So listen, let's reach out and get help. I did put the suicide prevention line if you need some immediate assistance, but reach out for prayer or whatever it is. We are here.
Yes, we are.
Closing, she thinks, she feels, she prays, she cries. She strengthens, she fasts, she overcomes, and ultimately she heals. This is the She Heals Radio Show with your host, Whitney J. Have an amazing weekend. We will not be live next week because it's Christmas Day, but we will see you back here January 1st, 2021, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take care. God bless.
God bless.